Yes, you are welcome to another episode of CSS lessons. I remain your instructor, Vincent Hope. Today, we're on lesson 5, but this is actually our third recording concerning the package CSS, which is cascading style sheets, which we use to style HTML documents. So today, we're going to be dealing with CSS comments. How do you add comments to your CSS page or coding, and how do you add the color styles in CSS? Now let's jump right into it. Now, comments are used to explain the code and may help when you edit a source code at a later date. They are ignored by browsers and it is placed inside the style element and starts with this /** and ends with also a */ So let's take a simple example. Now look at this: doc type HTML add style. This is a style tag. Then /**. This is a single line comment. This is another line comment here. Then these are the styling. This is the body, which we have already done before. What we are focused here now is on this here. So this is the comment. Now let's open a code. Let's open this in our browser. So let's take CSS, our comments here, CSS5 comments. Double click it. Now this is it. Let me bring it within the browser space. Let's see, we can bring it. Okay, it is expanded. Fine, we have it here. Let's push it to this side. So this is the CSS. This is the output as usual. Let's bring out the input, which is the code. So right click this, we go to edit with notepad. Okay, so now let me bring it in so that we can all see it together. Okay, so beautiful. So now if you look at HTML tag, head tag, style tag. Now this is a single line comment. If you watch here in this output, you don't see this. You don't see this code here. Why? Because this / starts this, and * has made it hidden. So it's just a comment to tell whoever is reading this code, or you in the future, that this is what you were trying to describe. I hope that is clear. So anytime you put an asterisk, it becomes invisible. So that's just simple. So let's move on. Now the next thing we're going to do is go to CSS colors. Now CSS colors, they are specified using predefined color names like R or names like, let's say, RGB. RGB simply means red, green, and blue. X, you will see it HSL, RGBA, which also means red, green, blue. I think we'll find what this color means. HSL values. In CSS color, you have names that have names, and they are up to 140. Now let's go down. Okay, now let's look at this example here. Always study your code. Doc type, HTML tag, body tag. Now this is like we did in last lesson. This is the inline style, H1 style background. This is a color here, tomato. This shows you that it's a tomato color. This is just a text. H-style background, orange. So now let's look at this code. Let's look at this code in an example of this code. So let's go back to our coding. So let's go to color. We double click it. Now this is the output: tomato, orange, gray. So let's see the code behind this. Right click, edit with notepad. Okay, let me minimize this. I minimize it. Okay, beautiful. So let me come closer together. Now HTML tag, body. Now these are inline styles. So let's on the first one, H1 style equals to background, which is this background here, dash color The color is what? Tomato. It gives you a tomato color. The text inside is tomato. So let's assume I change the text inside as formato or formato, something just to be for you to be able to see the difference, what we're trying to refer to. If we refresh, you see it here, so that's what it means. But initially, Ctrl Z is tomato, save and refresh. Come back. Okay, so this is for the code for tomato. To get a tomato background, this is it. For styling, you want to get an orange background. This is the code. The same thing, just change it to orange. This one for Dodger blue. You see Dodger blue here. You have medium stream. These are different codes, medium streams, different colors. We have gray, see gray. We have slater blue, slate blue. We have violet. We also light gray. So this is one of the color codes. So now let's move on. As we move on now, we also have now RGB, which we said is red, green, and blue. You can specify an RGB value. If you want to use RGB, you have to specify the value. For example, RGB, you have red, green, blue. Now let's take an example. It says each parameter, red, green, and blue. It says each parameter, which is this, each parameter's intensity is defined by between 0 and 255. So for example, RGB 25500 is displayed as red. Remember, it starts with red. So if the both other parameters are 0, that means you're talking about you want it to display red, because red is set to the highest value of 255 and the others are set to 0. To display black, all the parameters are set to 0, RGB 000. To display white, all the color parameters are set to 2555, all of them to their highest values. So let's see an example. So just like the inline statements. So H1 specify colors RGB, this is just the heading. Then H2 style background color RGB. In the other one we did not use RGB. Let's go back. You see that we just said background color and we went straight to specify the color. But here in this coding under RGB values, we specified RGB open bracket 25500. Now you see different codes. Then this is simply the text here. Then H2 style background H RGB 0025. So let's see this coding in the proper context. So let's go. So we see 5 color RGB values. Double click. Now let me open it in Code Plus in Notepad Plus. So edit with this. So now let's minimize this. Sorry, bring it back. Bring back the code. Bring back the code. Okay, so look at it now. So H2 style background color RGB 25500 RGB 25500. This is just the text inside, but what is important is this code here. This code here is important. You can see now 25500 gives you red. Look at the next one. 00255 gives you the color blue. 60 179 113 gives you another kind of color. Now let's see how it all works. Let's do some changes here. Let's put, for example, I make this one here, I change it to 250. I make this one here, I make this one 100. I save it. So we're going to watch this one. I save it. I refresh. You see it has changed because we have adjusted the color frame. So let's come down here. This one is reading blue. Let's change this one to 120 and make this one 15. You can adjust as any code as you want. Click save. Remember, we are dealing with the second one here. So which is this one was blue before. Now if I refresh, you can see it has changed to something like purple. So the color codes, depends on the degree to which you want the color to be adjusted. You effect it in each of the codes. So each of them give you different outputs. So I hope we are getting this. So let's make progress. So I click this now, I move forward. Now we also have what we call RGBA value. This is an extension of the RGB color values with an alpha channel that specifies the opacity of a color. Now you see you have red, green, blue, then alpha. Now let's go down. So for example, H1, make transparent colors with RGBA. Now look at it, say background color RGBA. Initially we use RGB, now we are using RGBA. Now 2559, then the opacity here is 0. The opacity here is 0. Opacity here is 0.4212. So opacity simply means how much you make the colors transparent. So let's see it in our coding. So we come here, so RGBA values, we double click it. Now look at the RGBA values. Let's open the code. Open the code, right click it, open, edit with Notepad. Let me minimize this, bring it back, minimize this. I put the code near it so that you can understand it. So this is H2 style background. So let's work with the first one. The RGBA is 255.917.710. The opacity is 0. So you see it's almost showing you note color. Let's do some adjustments. Let me make it 1. Okay, I'm making it 1. I save. I refresh here. You see now. See what happened here? It has changed color. Okay, if I make this now 0.1, I save it. I refresh. You see, it's very, very light. So that is how you use. So the main color red, next color green, next color blue, then you specify the transparency or opacity. Now let's move on. Now we have hexadecimal colors. Okay, this is specified by hashtag RR, which is red, green, and blue. Why RR means red, green, and blue. Hexadecimal integers specify the components of the color. So if you want to use hexadecimal in the coding, this is how you use it. Hashtag FF0000 is displayed as red because of the FF, because red is set to the highest value FF, and the others are specified to the lowest value 00. So to display all black, you set 00 like this. Okay, so let's jump right into the code. Now this is for hex. Let's double click it. This is hex now. So let me bring out the code. Right click this, edit with Notepad+. Let me reduce this so that it doesn't block our view. Okay, so now look at it. Now the first one is red. It said background color hashtag FF0000. Now this is how it appears. Are we following? Now let us do a little change here. Let me put this one here as FF2. Okay, where did that enter? Okay, yes, this is FF. It was FF0000, but I've changed it to FF. So let me save it. I save this and I refresh. You can see what has happened to this. So every adjustment you make. Now look at this. 000FF gives you blue. This one hashtag 3C, which is for the first one. Then B371. This is what it gives to you. This it gives to you. So if I decide to make this one C3C and let me call it D3, but you have to know the specific code. I refresh and I refresh. You can see it has also changed here. So this is how to use hexadecimal. So if you want to see more, you do more research, you check online, you will find the different codings. So these are just teaching you just in case you are interested in formatting specific aspects of your web page with different color styles. Now let's move forward. Now we come to this point. Now it says we have shades of gray. Now the shades of gray, so it said by using equal values for red, green, and blue, you will get different shades of gray. For example, the background color here is hashtag 3C. You get it? So background color this. So let's jump right into our code so that we can see how it works out. So let's check this. Shades of gray, double click it. Now you see different shades of gray. Let's open the code, right click, go to Notepad+, bring this down, bring it here. Okay, so look at it now. So this star background color 3C, 3C, 3C. Now this gives you a different shade of gray. All of them have to be equal. So watch all of them: 61, 61, 61, 78, 78, 78, B4, 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 F4, F4, F4. You can see they are all consistent. So if I want to make this one, let's assume I put a tree, I put a D here. I save it, refresh. Let's see what gives us. Okay, it has no much effect. 3D. Okay, let's put it 3D2. Because each of those codes makes a representation of a particular thing. Still no more effect. I make this one to 3D. So I'm not specifying the specific code, but I'm just doing it for you to see. Click. Okay, you can see. So those 3C, 3C, 3C are specific codes representing a particular shade of gray. So let me undo it. Undo, 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 undo. Okay, so I save it. Now, so that is what we have there. So these are the code. If you want to find more specific codes, you go online and search. You'll find the more specific codes as it relates to different shades of gray. Then we come to hexadecimal values. We come to 3 digits hex value. This can be used when both the values RR, GG, and BB are the same for the components. So if you have this FCC 0CC, it can be written as a single term. So this is a simple, it's a shorter way to, instead of writing it in 6 digits, which is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you simply write it in 3 digits. So we will not have to waste time on this. But if you want to see an example, let's say 3 hex. Now let's come here. Color, okay, 3x. Yes, look at this. Let's pull out the code here. The code editor, right click, edit with Notepad+. Okay, so let me minimize this. Right click it. Okay, so see it here now. We have where's the code? Okay, look at it here. The H1, which is CSS 3-digit X code, is hashtag FOF, just 3 digits. It's supposed to be FF00FF. If I put FF here, which is this one, look at it now, it has come out. I select it, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me remove this and I save it and I refresh. It gives me the same thing because that they represent the same thing. It gives me the same thing. So another way to do it, if I undo it, undo it, undo it. So this and the one we just did are the same. So it's just simply telling you how to use. That's why it's called 3-digit hex value. It only requires 3 digits. Then finally, under our colors, we are now going to treat what? The HSL value, specified as hue for H, saturation for S, then lightness for S or for L, and in the form. So hue is the degree of color wheel from 0 to 360. 0 is red, 120 is green, 240 is blue. Saturation is the percentage value. 0% means shades of gray and 100% means full color. Light means is the percentage of 0 or is also percentage. 0 is black, 50% is neither light or dark, 100% is white. So this is an example. Now let's look at the code before we jump into this. Okay, so we have the background color here, 0, 100, 50. So here the hue is 0, the saturation is 100, the lightness is 50. Now let's see how it works in the code. So let's come here, the HSL value. So look at it here. Let's bring out the code on Notepad++. Okay, so we said I did it Let's minimize this. Okay, so look at it here. So let's bring this down. Okay, so this is it here. So style background, this is 0, 100%, 50. So if we change this, if we adjust this, let's adjust it. Remember the output here is red. Let's adjust this to 20 and save it and refresh. You see it has changed. So these are simply the ways by which you can style your HTML documents in using CSS styling. So it's important you understand this style. So you may not need all at once, but at least you have been taught so that you can understand if you want to design a particular style or generate a particular color which you don't find common. This is the way you style it. So I hope you have learned something today. My name remains Vincent Hope. So if you have any questions, you have any observations, or you want to ask there's an area that we don't understand clearly or you want us to cover,